Hari Om, welcome all. So we are going to have a quick Kahoot game on Bhagavad Gita for the initial just few 10 minutes. So there are small questions on basic Bhagavad Gita and Gita Dhyana and chapter 12. So there are simple 10-11 questions are there. So we invite all the participants to be part of this Kahoot game. So if you go to the Kahoot.it, www.kahoot.it, or if you have an app, so the game pin is 976063. So we are already seeing some students joining. I'll just give another minute before we start. 976063. So everyone ready for the Kahoot game? Is everyone ready for the game? Okay. So, okay, so can we get started with the game? Okay, so there will be questions from basic Bhagavad Gita, Gita Dhyana and 12th chapter. 3, 2, 1, start. So you have 1 minute to answer. So Bhagavad Gita is part of Ramayana or Vishnu Purana or Mahabharata. Okay, so 17 participants answered correctly, Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata. So we'll go to the next question. Wow, Vaishnavi is topping and Pranav. Okay, how many shlokas are there in Bhagavad Gita? 620, 108, 780 or 700? Hmm. Wow, 11 people. So Hanuman did not hear. I think that's the answer many students have given. Pranav is stopping. सच्चिदानंद रूपाय मुखम करोति वाचालम प्रपन्न पारिजाताय शांताकारं भुजगशयनम्. Okay, good. Most of the students said correct answer, which is Shantakaram. Vaishnavi is back leading. Okay, so Dhyana. Which shloka is referring to Arjuna as a Vatsa? The word Vatsa comes in that shloka. Okay, so 17 kids, students have given a right answer. Let's see who's winning so far. Wow, Srihita. Okay, now the question is on the 12th chapter. How many shlokas are there in 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita? Wow, almost everyone answered correctly. Congratulations. Vaishnavi is leading. So we have another 4 more questions. What does Bhakti Yoga mean? Okay, I think this question is filling the blank in the shloka. Mayyeva mana adhatsva, mayye buddhim niveshaya. Is it nashaknoshi mayya sthiram or yo madbhaktasame priyaha or nivasishyasi mayyeva or udasino katavyathaha. Good job. Most of the kids give right answer. That is nivasishyasi mayyeva. Vaishnav is still leading. So last 2 questions. Samasyatrau cha mitre cha tatha manapamanayoho शीतोष्ण सुख दुखेषु. Is it Bhaktiman में प्रियो नरः और समसंग विवर्जितः और पूर्ण सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि. Okay, so most of the children have given the right answer. That is samasanga vivarjitaha. So we have 2 more questions to go. Vaishnavi is still leading. So this is again another similar question. Is it Shraddhadhana Matparamaha or Idam Shariram Kaunteya or Adveshta Sarvabhutana? So fill in the blank for the padam, first padam. Okay, so again Vaishnav is still leading. So we are in the last question. So which shloka in the 12th chapter means but who follows completely the immortal dharma as ordained with faith, holding me, the Paramatma, as the supreme, and those devotees are exceedingly dear to me. Bhaktaste ativa me priyaha. So that's what the last line in that meaning says. So that was a clue. So last padam says Bhaktaste ativa me priyaha. So that's the only place we have priyaha. Everywhere it says priyaha. Okay, so 16 kids gave the right answer. Yetu dharmyamritamidam. Wow. So Srihita is in the third place with 11,000 points, 11,700. Nandita in the second place, and then Vaishnavi is the topper. So can we give her a big round of applause, Vaishnavi. Thank you all. So now we are going to start our session. Today's topic is on the Shiksha Shastra, which is the science behind all of our knowledge. So all our ancient knowledge is primarily coming in the form of the sound. So which Veda is the source of all of our knowledge, and that knowledge has been transferred from one to the another in the Guru Shishya Parampara. So that sound, how that sound is being produced and how it is, that's the only way people communicate, human beings communicate, and the knowledge is transferred. So there is so much of research that is happening all over the world on this sound, how the sounds are produced and how human beings speak. So while Westerners and all over the world, other people are doing research, our ancient rishis have given this knowledge thousands of years ago as part of our Vedanga, one of the Vedanga, which is the Shiksha Shastra. So that the science behind all this pronunciation is in the form of a Shastra, which is in the form of several Shikshas. So which today Lasya is going to be covering part of those sutras, which are the source by which we will understand how each and every sound that we all use in any of our scriptures. So over to you, Lasya. So Lasya is a freshman at UT Austin, so she is studying Sanskritam. So she is brought up here in Austin, Texas. So over to you, Lasya.
वागीशाद्यास्य मनसः सर्वार्थानामुपक्रमे यन्नत्वाकृतकृत्यास्य स्तन्नमामि गजाननं शारदा शारदाम्भोजवदना वदनाम्बुजे सर्वदा सर्वदास्माकं सन्निधिं क्रियात् वन्दे गुरुपदद्वन्द्वम् अवाङ्मानसगोचरं रक्तशुक्लप्रभामिश्रमतर्क्यं त्रैपुरं महः येनाक्षरसमाम्नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः येन धौतागिरः पुंसां विमलैः शब्दवारिभिः तमश्चाज्ञानजं भिन्नं तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः आकाशवायुप्रभवः शरीरात् समुच्चरन् वक्त्रमुपैति नादः स्थानान्तरेषु प्रविभज्यमानः वर्णत्वमागच्छति यस्य शब्दः अथ शिक्षां प्रवक्ष्यामि पाणिनीयं मतं यथा शास्त्रानुपूर्व्यं तद्विद्यात् यथोक्तं लोकवेदयोः ऋत्तावसाने नटराजराजो ननादढक्कां नवपञ्चवारम् उद्धर्तु कामः सनकादिसिद्धान् एतद्विमर्शे शिवसूत्रजालम् नमः सभाभ्यः सभापतिभ्यश्च वो नमः. With namaskars to Saraswati Devi, who is the embodiment of Vak, of Shabda, of the sound that we produce and that we hear everywhere. With namaskarams to the Jagat Gurus and my Gurus and Panini Maharshi, who gave us this Shastra. I will start with my presentation on Shiksha, a pronunciation guide. Shiksha is a Vedanga, so there are 6 Vedangas. So Shiksha, Vyakarana, Chanda, Chandas, Kalpa, Nirukta and Jyotisha. So the first of these 6 Vedangas is called Shiksha. Shiksha is basically the science of phonetics. So it's how to pronounce a shabda and what we use in our mouth to pronounce this shabda, this sound. And here, this is our munis, our rishis and munis are one of the first people in the world to make a science out of this phonetics, to write these Shiksha Sutras, Shiksha Shlokas. There are over 75 Shikshas that are found today in today's world. So there are over 75 Shikshas found all over the world because our scriptures have gone to other places because of invasions and everything. But there are 75 Shikshas found all over the world, and there is one Shiksha written for every single Pratishakya of the Vedas. So there are over 1,000 Pratishakyas. So there were over 1,000 Shikshas. So there's one Shiksha for every single Pratishakya. But we have lost a lot of them, and we have only found 75 Shikshas. So the language in Vedas is called Chandas. So there is a slight difference between the colloquial Sanskrit that we use, the Laukika Bhasha, the Sanskrit that we use on a daily basis and in Kavyas and Puranas. That is different from the Sanskrit, the language that is used in the Vedas. The language that is used in the Vedas is called Chandas. So this language called Chandas gave rise to the Sanskritam that we use in Bhagavad Gita, in Puranas, in Kavyas. Yeah. So basically, this is a guide to how to pronounce each of these letters that we use in this language. And this does not only apply to Sanskritam, because most of the languages that we use are mother tongue, like mine is Telugu, and a lot of people other than Tamil and Malayalam, a lot of the other languages will have very, very similar pronunciations. So what is this Shabda that I've been talking about? What is this Shabda that Panini Maharshi has written about? Oh, I forgot one point. Shiksha, the Shiksha that we're looking at today is called Paniniya Shiksha. It has been written, I have taken 2 Paniniya Shikshas. One was said to have been written by Panini Maharshi, and the other one is said to have been written by him. And also there are other pakshas, there are other arguments that it was not written by him, that it was written by his students or people that have followed him before. So we are taking both of those Shikshas. One is the Shiksha Sutras and one is Shiksha Shlokas. So this is the first shloka, the Mangalacharana in the Shiksha Sutras, that is said to have been written by Panini. So what is Shabda? Akashavayu prabhavasharirat samucharan vaktramupaiti nadaha sthanantareshu pravibhajyamanaha varnatvam agacchati yaha saha shabdaha. So here, Akashavayu prabhavaha. So we have Akasha in our body. It is there in our ears, in our Shravanendriya, it is there in our Nabhitala, in our navel region, it is there in our Mooladhara. So from all of these places, Panini Maharshi is saying that this Shabda is being produced. So this Shabda is coming from this navel region first. Akasha Vayu Prabhava. So this Shabda, this Akasha, along with the Vayu, the Prana Vayu that we have in our body, is coming from this Nabhi, from this navel. And it's going to the Vaktra. Akasha Vayu Prabhava Sharirat Samucharan Vaktramu Paitinada. So when we have this thought process that we want to say something, the Shabda, the Akasha and Vayu come together and they go from the Nabhi, the navel region, to the face, to the Vaktra, to near the throat region. And from there, that same air, that Vayu and that Akasha together will touch different regions in the mouth. After they touch this region in the mouth, they will come out as Shabda. So Varnatvam Agachati. So that Shabda will have a Varnatva when it reaches this Sthana in this mouth. So whenever this Akasha and Vayu come together and they touch a Sthana in the mouth, a Sthana is a location in the mouth. So when they touch one location inside the mouth and they come out of the mouth, it comes out as Shabda with Varnatva. This Varnatva means it has a characterization of having a Varna. It is meaningful. So it has this Varnatva. This Shabda will have this Varnatva. And then this next shloka, it's a very important shloka. It's found in a lot of places. It is one of the only shlokas that have been found to be written about the physiology of sound and how sound is produced. So Atma Buddhya Sametya Arthan. Atma Buddhya Arthan Sametya Vivakshaya Mano Yunkte. So this Atma and our Buddhi, the intellect, will come together and they will try to get this meaning that they want to say through sound. And with that vivaksha, with that vaktumicha, that want to say something, they will go to the manas, to the mind, and they'll ask it, can you please help us produce this sound for this artha that we want to say? And then from there, it will go to the kayagni. Kayagni is near the udara, the navel region. And then sab prereti marutam. So that kayagni will ask the maruta, the vayu, to go upward and try to produce this sound. So then maruta is vayu. So the vayu will go up. The kayagni will ask the maruta to go up, to the vayu to go up and please produce this sound. After that, marutaha tu urasi charan mandram janeti swaram. This maruta, this vayu will come to the uro bhaga. Uro is chest region. Uras is chest region. So this maruta, this vayu will come to the chest region, and then mandram janeti swaram. It will slowly produce a sound. So that is how varnotpatti happens. That is how sound is produced according to our shastras and munis. And this shloka is found, it's quoted, referenced in a lot of places because it is one of the only shlokas that have been found about the physiology of speech. So why is this shabda important? Why is it so important that we pronounce things correctly? Why is it so important that this vayu that is coming from our nabhi region, why is it so important that it hits the right places, the right sthanas in our mouth? So tam aksharam brahma param pavitram guhashayam samyak ushanti vipraha sa shreyasa cha abhyudayena cheva samyak prayuktaha purusham yunakti. So if this sound is produced correctly, because the sound is tam aksharam, it is indestructible, aksharam. Right? We have akshara parabrahma yoga. So it's aksharam, it is indestructible. The sound is everlasting. Brahma, it is considered Brahma Swarupa. This Shabda Brahmopasana is done because Shabda is that important in our culture, in our sampradaya. Param Pavitram, and it is the one that purifies. This sound is the one that purifies everyone's speech. It purifies others' speech, it purifies others' thinking, it purifies our own thinking. So it is a purifier. Guhashayam samyak ushanti vipraha sa shreyasa cha abhyudayena cheva samyak prayukta purusham yunakti. So the munis who have learned that this sound is this significant, this important, they have with this shreyas and this abhyudaya, with this austerity, they have been focusing on this shabda, and from there they have reached the moksha sthiti. They have reached Brahma by concentrating on this sound. What is this sound? Where is it coming from? So that is what the munis have done. And from that upasana, we get these types of shastras, this Shiksha Shastra and other shastras, because of the munis who have done this Shabda upasana. Anaksharam hatayushyam visvaram vyadhipiditam akshata shastra rupena vajram patati mastake. So this shloka is talking about what will happen if you do not pronounce correctly. So how important it is to produce the sound correctly, and it is it is written in Paniniya Shiksha shlokas. So anaksharam hatayushram. If you pronounce the akshara wrong, if you have an akshara dosha, then anaksharam hatayushyam, then your ayush will be decreased. So your lifespan will decrease. Visvaram vyadhipiditam. And if you say, this is mainly for Vedas, because our laukika, language that we use every day will not have swaras. It will have swaras, but we don't know properly where to put what swara. And in Vedas, it is told what swara we should put in which place. Udatta, anudatta, swaritas, right? So if we pronounce the one swara also, if we pronounce it wrong, then vyadhipiditam, we will be inflicted with diseases. Akshataha shastra rupena vajram patati mastake. So you know how we do puja and the pujaris will put akshatas on our head, right? So the same way the vajram will fall on our head. The same way that these akshatas are falling on our head, the same way this vajrayudha will fall on our head, and thus we will become into pieces. Basically, it's saying that the shloka is telling us that it's very important to produce speech right, to produce this shabda right. Because unless we do that, we won't be able to communicate properly. We won't be able to express the things that we have in our mind properly. So, and since humans have this medium of communication of language through talking, we should be able to use this skill properly and thus communicate well. And we need ucharana, we need a class on ucharana for that. So, Varna Vibhaga. So, that was the importance of Shabda. Now we're talking about how this Shabda has been divided and what kind of sounds are coming out of our mouth. So there are 63 Varnas as written in this Shiksha. This Shiksha, Paniniya Shiksha, was written for Rigveda Pratishakya, but it can be applied for most of the things that we use. So Trishashtish Chatushashtirva, Trishashtihi Chatushashtirva, Varnaha Shambhumate Mataha, Prakrite Samskrite Chapi, Swayam Proktaha, Swayam Bhava. So basically, Panini Maharshi is saying that there are 63 types of Varnas in our use in our language. So Swaraha Vimshati Rekascha. If someone wants to use the calculator they can. Swaraha Vimshati Rekascha. So there are 21 Swaras is what he's saying here. So here I have Matrika Pata. So here we have right. We won't use this yet because it will be confusing. Okay, Swara Vimshati Rekascha. So there is and then So there's 3 types of A's here in this calculation of Varnas. But there are another 18 types of A's which we'll get to later. So there are 3 types of A's. So there's Hrasva, Dirgha and Pluta. And this works for most of the Swaras, not all. So and then I, U, U. Okay, so there's like that, it's A, I, U, R. 4 of these Varnas will have Hrasva, Dirgha and Pluta. So what does that make it? 4 times 3? 12. Right. And then that plus we have Lukara. Lukara will have 1 Hrasva and 1 Pluta. So that is 2. 12 plus 2, 14. Sparshanam Panchavim, Lukara and then Ekara. Lukara, Ekara. Ekara will have, in Sanskritam there is only use of Dirgha and Pluta Ekara. There is no Hrasva Ekara, but we have that in other languages like Telugu and Tamil and Malayalam and Kannada. But in Sanskritam we only have the use of Dirgha Ekara and Pluta Ekara. In some Samaveda Pratishakyas there are Ekara and Okara which are Hrasva, but in our use we do not have Hrasva Ekara. So Ekara and then Pluta Ekara, Aikara, Pluta Aikara, and then Okara, Pluta Okara, Aukara, Pluta Aukara. So what does that make it? Did anyone do the calculation? 21. Okay. So that is 21 Swaras, right? Actually, it should be 22 because at the end we have Lukara of Pluta Evacha, so that makes it 22. So then Sparshanam Panchavimshatihi. So these Sparsha Varnas, what are Sparsha Varnas? Sparsha Varnas are anything that is touching in the mouth, that has an obstruction of air in the mouth. So these from Ka to Ma, these are called Sparsha Varnas. Kadayo Mavasanaha Sparshaha. So because when you say these Varnas, if you say them out loud, Ka, Kha, Ga, Gha, there is an obstruction in the mouth for not letting the Vayu enter through the mouth outside freely. So this Ka to Ma is Sparsha Varnas. So each of these Varnas will have that. Some place in the mouth, there will be an obstruction. If we go back, Swaras are Swayam Rajante iti Swaraha. So these Swaras, these vowels that you can say in English, they will flow freely through the mouth. They will let the Vayu flow freely through the mouth with no obstructions in between. So that is why they're called Swaras, because they Swayam Rajante. They flow freely. They let the Vayu flow freely through the mouth. Sparshanam Panchavim. Sparshas are called Sparshas because there's sparsha there in the mouth. There is touching there in the mouth. It's touching somewhere in the mouth. And then Yadayascha Smritahyashta. Yadayas are Ya, Ra, La, Va, Sha, Sha, Saha. So there are 8. Yadayascha Smritahyashta. So that's Ya, Ra, La, Va, Sha, Sha, Saha. Then Chatvarascha Yama Smritaha. So these Yama Varnas are only used in the Vedas. There's a few instances where it's more like a Dvitva, it's like Srukkini. So the Kakara, there is a Yama Varna. So there's 4 Yama Varnas, Ka, Kha, Ga, Gha, that we do not need to know. But just know that there are 4 types of Yama Varnas that are only used in the Vedas. And then Anuswaraha. Anuswaraha is these Anunasika Varnas that we have before any sparsha varna. So the nga, nya, na, na, ma. So that we have the chandra bindu right on top, the bindu. That is an anuswara. And then visarga. Visarga is the aha, the colon that you see in Bhagavad Gita text. And then kaf, pav. So the little, so this sign, this symbol that you see is not in use these days a lot, but it's how we represent the jihva muliya, the ahkara. So when we pronounce a visarga before a kakara, we have this in Bhagavad Gita classes all the time. Whenever we have a visarga before a kakara or a khakara, we have this sound. What is this sound? Can anyone give me an example of how this, of when this sound is produced, whenever there's a visarga before a kakara? Any shloka? It's the ahkara, ahka. Samadukha sukha. So there we are producing that in the jihva mulya. It's called the jihva mulya because it is produced in the jihva mulya. It is produced in the back of the throat, near the start of the tongue. So that is this varna. This it has the same symbol as upadmaniya, and then comes to this. So upadmaniya is the F sound that we produce. So fpa. Where does that come? Any places? Anyone know? In Bhagavad Gita? Yeah. Yaf patet, priyasannidho. There. So in that place, this upadmaniya is pronounced. This F sound. So those are 4 more varnas. Anuswara, visarga, kaf, pav. So jihva mulya and upadmaniya. So remember, this ahkara is jihva mulya. The F sound is the sound that comes before kakara when there is a visarga is called jihva mulya. The sound that comes before a pakara or a phakara when there is a visarga before is called upadmaniya. And then parashrita. So all of these varnas is anuswara, the bindu on top, visarga, the colon, the aha at the end. So basically and aha that we see in matrika patha in usual. So matrika patha is this. So this is anuswara, aha is visarga, to make it more clear. So anuswara, visarga, kaf, pav. So all of these varnas, they rely on the next varna based for their pronunciation, to know what their pronunciation is. You can't have a jihva mulya without having a ka or a kha after it. If you have a ga, it becomes a different varna. Same with anuswara and visarga and upadmaniya. Then dusprishtastheti vigneyo lukara pluta evacha. So with lukara being pluta, all of these will become 63 varnas. Did anyone get the calculation of that? So it's Vimshati Rekha. So 21 here, 21 swaras without counting the Lukara Pluta. And then 25 sparsha varnas. And then 8 ashtav, Yadesha Smrita Hyashtav. 8 Yaralava Shashasaha. And then Chatvarashri Yamasmritaha. 4 Yamavarnas, Anuswara, Visarga, Jihvamulya, Upadmaniya. So 4 Parashrita varnas. And then Lukara Pluta. So 1 more Pluta. So how many does that make? 63, right? Yeah. So that is 63 varnas. So Matrika Patha. This is what is taught to us in elementary schools and everything. So this Matrika Patha is taught as A, I, U. So here we don't see the Pluta anywhere. We don't see Pluta Akara, Pluta Ikara, Pluta Ukara, Pluta Rukara, Pluta Lukara. We don't see any of the Pluta Varnas. So we will get a different calculation based on Matrika Patha. Yeah, but here it's arranged as Ka to Ma are Sparsha Varnas. Yara Lava are called Antasthas. Shasha Saha are called Ushma Varnas. And then this is Maheshwara Sutras. So when I had a shloka in the beginning that I said, Nrittavasane Nataraja Rajo Nanada Dhakkam Nava Panchavaram. So here in this shloka it talks about Nataraja. Nataraja playing his dhakka, his dhamaru. And he hits it 14 times. And with this, every hit, these sounds have come out. So I un, riluk, e ong, I ouch, hayavarat, lan, nyamangananam, jabhany, gadhadash, jabagadadash, kapha chatatav, kapay shashasar, hal iti maheshwarani sutrani. So these are the 14 times that Shiva's dhamaru was hit. And each time these varnas came out. So here we have akara to, if we see chakara, a, I, u, r, l, e, o, I, o. So what does that make those? It's from a to cha. In Telugu we'll call this achulu because it's from a to cha, achaha, achvarnaha. This is where that has come from. So achvarnaha are I, u, r, l, e, o, I, o. So it's vowels basically. And then from ha to la is called hal in Sanskritam, hal pratyahara. So all of these varnas, it's basically an abbreviation. Hal varnas are hayavara, la, nyamanganana, jabha, gadhadha, jabagadada, kapha chatata, chatata, kapa, shashasa, ha. So ha to la are called hal. In Telugu it's hallu, right? Hallulu. So these are the consonants that we see, right? So ach and hal, there are two types. And then moving on, after we looked at Maheshwara Sutras, we're going to talk about how these varnas are produced. What exactly happens in the mouth. So sthanamidam, sthana is the point of where this is hitting, I'm going to use three terms here, sthana, karana and prayatna. So sthana is basically the point where it's hitting. And then karana is what is hitting it. So when there's two things, when there's a ball and there's a ball and a wall, someone will have to throw the ball to the wall, right? So for the wall to be hit, there has to be a ball that has been thrown. So the ball is the karana here and the wall is the sthana. Okay, so the sthana is basically what is being hit and the karana is basically what is hitting it. So, and then prayatna. Prayatna is the person who's throwing the ball, how hard he's throwing the ball, how soft he's throwing the ball, or what he's using to throw the ball. Is he using a bat? Is he using something else, his hands? So that's basically prayatna. Prayatna is the effort that is put into producing the sound. Prayatna, we use that in our normal language also, prayatna, the word prayatna. Here it means what happens during varnotpatti, what happens when we're producing a sound and what happens before we produce the sound. What is happening in the mouth, what is happening in other places of the body, like the nose, the kantha, the uras, the nabhi. What is happening in these places before we produce the sound and during when we produce this sound. So sthanamidam, karanamidam, prayatna eshad vidhanilaha. So sthana is where it is hitting, karana is what is hitting it, and prayatna is the effort we put into to making this sound. So sthanas. We have 8 sthanas. This might be a little confusing. Bear with me. So kanthyaha. So akuha visarjaniyaha kanthyaha. So the kantha, the aksharas, the varnas that are produced in the throat are called kanthyaha because they are produced in the kantha region. So what are these varnas? We have for example, akuha visarjaniyaha. We said that sutra, right? So this is the kantha. It's the back of our throat. So this is a mouth, believe it or not. But this is the back of the throat. So we have avarna is produced in the back of the throat. Ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. These are all produced in the back of the throat. And then ha, akuha visarjaniyaha. And then visarga. Visarga is also produced in the back of the throat. So all of these varnas are called kanthya varnas because they are produced there. That is their sthana. Their sthana is the kantha. So they are called kanthyaha. Did everyone get that? And then talavyaha. Ichuyashas talavyaha. So talavya is this region of the mouth. So the palatal, it's the palate region of the mouth, the top of the mouth. So cha, e, cha, ya, sha, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Everyone try to say it. You'll understand it better when you say it out loud. So cha, cha, ja, ja, nya, e, ya. So these varnas are pronounced by touching the tongue to the palate. We'll get to the karana, the tongue, which is hitting it later. But this ichi yasha sthalavyaha. So when we say this ikara, e, we're bringing the tongue close to the palate of the mouth, but we're not touching it. That is why it is still a swara, it's still a vowel, because it is not touching the sthana, it's not touching the palate. It's letting the air flow freely, but with a little obstruction. So when we make that obstruction with our tongue near the palate, it is producing a different type of sound. So when we say ah, we're not doing anything, right? We're not doing anything with the mouth. The sound is coming directly from the kantha. But when we're saying e, we're moving the tongue upward, a little upward. We're not touching it to any place in the mouth, but we're moving it a little upward in order for the air to pass through different places. So when we do that, it produces a different type of sound. It's ikara, right? E and a. You get it, you understand it better when you say it out loud. It's fine, it's a free space, no one will judge. Here, so it's ikara, e. E, chu, ya, sha. Right, Ichu Yasha. And then Shakara is also pronounced in the Talavya. So this is Shiva Sha, not Vishnu Sha. That is different. So Sh, when we say Sh, the air has to come out, but more through the sides. So the tongue should not touch the palate, the top of the mouth. It should not touch it, not fully. But it should be very close to it in order for there to be a rush of vayu, of air through the mouth. Sh. So that's why you have a lot of vayu coming out, a lot of air coming out of the mouth when you say that varna. Sh, right, shakara, sh. So that is a talavya varna. And then we have, and then murdhanya varnas. R, tu, ra, sha, right. R, rikara. Rikara also, it might seem like a varna that is being touched, that is having a location in the mouth where the jihva, the tongue is touching the sthana, but that is not true. When we say r, so it's not supposed to touch the sthana completely. It's not supposed to touch the murdha. The murdha is the retroflex. It's called retroflex in English. It is close, it is between the teeth and the palate. So we know where the palate is, right? It's at the top. It's the top of the mouth. Cha, where we pronounce cha, sha, e, ya, right? And the murdha is between that and the danta. So wherever that sthana is in your mouth, try to touch it with your tongue and see what types of aksharas, what types of varnas are produced. So r, tu, ta, tha, da, dha, na. So when we say tu, when we say ku, when we say chu, where it's basically an abbreviation for all of the varnas in that line, that varga. So chavarga, tavarga, kavarga, ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. So that's ku. When we say chu, it's cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. When it's tu, it's ta, tha, da, dha, na. Same way for all of the others. So r, tu, r, ta, tha, da, dha, na. And then ra, rakara. When we say ra, it's partially coming, all of the air is partially coming through. So say, when we say r, the air is coming out, it should be coming out 100% with almost no obstructions, say 95%. When we say rakara, repha, when we say r, the repha, that is not a swara, that is not a vowel, when we say that, it should be touching it and the air should be coming out 75%, 50 to 75%. When we say tatha dadhana, the air should be coming out less than 50%. So that is how it's arranged. So r, tu, ra, sha, right? Sha. When we say sha also, the air should be coming out. There should be a lot of air coming out. Sha. And when this sha is produced, it has to be between this palate that is at the top of the mouth, and the danta, the teeth. So it's between there. So sha, sha, sha. It's different from sha, is different from sha, sha, right? So that's Vishnu sha. It's not Shiva sha. So Shiva sha is different from Vishnu sha. And Vishnusha is called a Murdhanya because it is touching the Murtha, the retroflex of the mouth. And Shivasha is called a Talavya because it's touching the Talu, the palate of the mouth. So that is Murtha. Ruturashaha Murdhanyaha. Lutulasaha Dantyaha. So this Lukara, we don't see it often in our Bhagavad Gita also. I think we only see it in one place, in the Dhyana shlokas. But Lutulasaha Dantyaha. Lukara also, you shouldn't be touching it at all, but that sound should be produced somehow. Tu, Takara, Ta, Tha, Da, Dha, Na. Lakara, and then Sa. So all of these are pronounced in the dental region. So here, L, T, Th, Th, N. So all of these, the tongue should be touching the teeth. These are not, what are they called? The vampire teeth. They're normal people's teeth. So these are the dantas, right? So dental aksharas. L, T, L, S. So these are all pronounced by touching the tongue to the teeth. So Dantya Varnas. And then we have Lutulasaha Dantyaha. So and then we have Vakaro Dantyoshtyaha. Vakarasi Dantoshtam. So this Vakara, when we produce Va, it is touching, it is the combination of the teeth with the Oshtha. Oshtha means the lip. The lower lip and the teeth, the top row of the teeth are touching, and when the Vayu comes and it comes out of the mouth, then the Vakara is produced, this Va sound is produced. So it has to be the teeth touching the lips. Okay, so that's Vakarasi Dantoshtam. So it's basically this part touching this part. So and then when the air is coming from here to here, it has to have this obstruction. So when this touches this, it obstructs the air from going here to here. So when that is obstructed, we produce this Vakara. So Vakarasi Dantoshtam. And then Upupadmaniyaha Oshtyaha. Upupadmaniyaha Oshtyaha. Ukara. U is pronounced when you make the Oshtya, the lips close together, right? So it's only produced when you move the lips. If you try to say oo without moving the lips together, it won't work. So if you try to say oo, it won't work, right? It will still come out as ah, it won't come out as oo, because you have to move the lips in order to produce this oo sound. You can all try it, yeah. Oo, right? Oo, pa, pa, ba, ba. All of these are pronounced when the lips are touching together. U, pu, upadmaniyaha. Upadmaniya is we talked about this before. It's the visarga. When a visarga comes before a pa or a pa, it is the F sound that we produce, the pa, yaf pathet, right? So yaf pathet, in that the F sound is this upadmaniya. So that is also produced with the lips. So upupadmaniyaha oshtyaha. U, pa, pa, ba, bha, ma, and yaf pathet. The fakara, the F sound there is oshtya varna. So all of these are pronounced with the lips. So remember, kantyas are the varnas pronounced with the throat. And then talavyas are pronounced with the palate, the top of the mouth. Murdhanyas are pronounced with the murdha, the retroflex, the region between this palate and the teeth. And then dantyas are dental sounds produced with the teeth, when the tongue touches the teeth. And then oshtya varnas. Oshtya varnas are varnas produced with the lips, when the lips move. And then last we come to nasikyaha. So Anuswara Yamaha, nasikyaha. So we talked about yamavarnas as they are being pronounced only used in the Vedas, right? So and then Anuswaras, this right? This will have different ways of taking place after other varnas. We call it a parashrita varna, right? So it's pronounced differently when it's put before different varnas. So that varna, so this nga, nya, na, na, ma, these all will have this nasikya. This nasika will act as one of the sthanas for it. We cannot produce nga, nya, na, na, ma without using the nose, right? So if we try to do that, if we do nya, na, na, ma, it won't work. We won't be able to produce the same sound, right? So nga, nya, na, na, ma, these sounds have to be produced with the nose, along with other things. So nga, kara will also come here, right? Nga, ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. So that is kanthya. So it is produced with the kantha. It is also produced with the nasika. It's produced with the throat and with the nose. So, and then same thing with nya. Nya, ichu yasha talavya, right? So cha, cha, ja, jha, nya, nya. It's produced at the talavya region. So it's taking the sthana of the talavya, it's also taking the sthana of the nasika. So talu, nasika, nya. Without that, without the nose, it would just be cha, cha, ja, jha. And then cha, cha, nya, nga, nya, na, na, ta, tha, da, dha, na. It has murdha as its sthana and nasika as its sthana. And then na has danta as its sthana, nasika as its sthana. Ma has oshtha as its sthana and nasika as its sthana. So these anuswara varnas will have both as their sthanas. So basically, these are the different sthanas. This is the kantha, the throat, and this is the talavya, the top of the mouth. This is where you pronounce the sha, which is very important in our Bhagavad Gita Mahayagna, because we have to differentiate between shakara and shakara, right? So this sha is talavya, and then sha is right here, this murdhanya. It is between this teeth and this talavya region, this palate region. So the sha should be, it shouldn't be at the back of the mouth. And you shouldn't pronounce it very harshly also. I hear a lot of people doing it very harshly and it doesn't sound right. So it has to be pronounced in between this, where you pronounce the sha and where you pronounce the sa. So sa and sha, it has to be in between. Sha, sha. Right, so that is murdhanya. And then we have dantyas. Dantyas are this teeth region. So when this tongue touches this teeth, it's called dantya. And then oshtya. Oshtyas are lips, the varnas that use the lips to be formed. Moving on, we talked about sthana, now we're talking about karana. So we talked about the wall that was being hit, now we're talking about the ball that's hitting the wall. Right? So this ball that is hitting the wall is nothing other than the tongue, for most varnas, not for all varnas. So jihvya, talavya, murdhanya, dantyanam, jihva karanam. So for all of these, for the kanthya varnas, for the murdhanya varnas, for the talavya varnas, for the dantya varnas, this jihva is the karanam. This jihva is the instrument that is used to hit this sthana, to hit this location in the mouth. Jihva mulena jihvyanam. So here we have different parts of the tongue. Believe it or not, this is a tongue. This is the tongue in the mouth, and this is how they represent it in the picture. But I just use this to show the different locations of the tongue. So there is the root of the tongue. This is the jihva mula for us. This is the jihva agra. So jihva mula, jihva madhya. We're using both of these as jihva madhya, jihvopagra, and jihvagra. So this is the start of the tongue. This is the center of the tongue. This is right before the tip of the tongue, which is the blade of the tongue. And this is the tip of the tongue, jihvagra. So the jihva mulena jihvyanam. So the kanthya varnas, akuha visarjaniyaha, will all use this jihva mula as their karana. All of these will have, when they're pronounced, the tongue, the start of the tongue will hit the back of the throat. So when that happens, this varna will produce, right? So jihva mulena jihvyanam. So these akuha visarjaniya, a ka kha ga gha nga, and then visarga. All of these will be produced with the back of the tongue, the start of the root of the tongue hitting the throat, the back of the throat. And then jihva madhyena talavyanam. Talavya varnas are the ichu yashaha. So ikara, cha, chakara, cha, cha, ja, jha, nya, sha, and ya. All of these are talavya varnas. So when you produce this, we use this part of the tongue, right? Ya, cha, cha, e. So when we do that, we use this part of the tongue to touch this palate, right? So this is very important for children who are trying to produce these sounds, because I know it's a foreign language for almost many of us, as we are all born in this country. It's a new language for us. So we need to understand what exactly is happening in this mouth in order to produce these sounds. So if you tell your kids to take the middle, to take the center of their tongue and touch it to the top of their mouth, they will be able to pronounce this yakara, this shakara, this chakara properly in sampradaya paddhati. So this jihva madhyena talavyanam. So the center of this tongue will touch this palate. Jihva madhyena talavyanam. And then jihvopagrena murdhanyanam. So murdhanya is retroflex. So it will touch the jihvopagra, which is right before the tip of the tongue, the blade. So this part is the talavya. So this part will touch this part. So when these two touch, it is a murdhanya varna. Right. So ritu rashaha murdhanyaha. So r, t, r, sh. So when you take the blade of the tongue, this part of the tongue, and touch it to this part in the mouth, when they touch, you can pronounce this sha sound, sha, sha. So that is how this sha sound should be produced. It shouldn't be produced as sha. That is wrong. It is not right. It's sha. It has to be produced with this part of the tongue. Almost near the tip of the tongue, it should touch right before the teeth start. Sha, sha. That is how that shakara is produced. Please make sure to practice that. I hear a lot of people saying it in the wrong way. So this part has to touch this part. So sha, sha. And then jihvopagrena murdhanyanam. Right. And then jihvagrena dantyanam. So this is easy. We all know how to pronounce ta, da, dha, na. Right. These are all very easy sounds for us. We've been conditioned to learn these sounds since birth. Lutulasaha dantyaha, right? So l, t, l, s. So we're touching the tip of the tongue to the dentals, to the teeth, to the dantas. So that is basically the sparsha varnas. So this part, this tip is touching this, the dantas. For oshtha varnas, which we have not written here, it's upubhadmaniyaha oshtyaha, right? So all of these varnas, the oshthas are the sthana, they're also the karna. So they itself are the ball, they're also the wall that is being hit by the ball. So it's both. The oshthas are hitting themselves when we produce ma, pa, pa, ba, bha, right? So they're both the instrument that is used to hit the sthana, and they are the sthana itself. So these oshtya varnas are special like that. And then vakara also. Va, when we say va, we use the danta, the teeth, to hit the lips. When we do that, the teeth can be the sthana, they can also be the karana. The lips can be the sthana, they can also be the karana. I hope you all understand what sthana and karana are by now. So sheshaha swasthana karanaha. So that's basically the definition of that last sutra. Sheshaha swasthana karana. The leftover that we have not talked about in these first 4 sutras are swasthana karanaha. Their own sthana is the karana also. So the sthana and the karana are the same in the leftover varnas. So like va, pa, pa, ba, bha. Start moving. Okay. Yeah, and then we're talking about Prayatna. So these are 3 very important terms in Shiksha Shastra and phonetics. So Prayatna is the effort, basically effort. For anything Prayatna is, we tell our children, right, put some Prayatna into doing this work, right? So this Prayatna is this effort. And then Prayatna is basically the effort put into producing this sound. So what is done in this mouth when we produce this sound? What is done in the nose when we produce this sound? What is done in the throat? What is done with our vocal cords when we produce this sound? So this Prayatna has been told as 2 types by Panini Maharshi here. So Abhyantara and Bahya. So Abhyantara Prayatnas are the Prayatnas, the work that is being done inside the mouth. Bahya Prayatnas is the work that is being done outside, any region that is outside of the mouth. So any work that is being done in the vocal cords, any work that is being done in the mouth, in the chest region, all of these are Bahya Prayatnas because they're outside the mouth. So I was not going to touch up on Abhyantra Prayatnas because it is not as important for people learning Gita. It's basically Ishat Sprishta, Sprishta, Vivrita, Samvrita. So it's basically how the tongue is touching each of these places. Is it far away from the top of the mouth? Is it close to the top of the mouth? How is the air coming out of the mouth? That is basically what Abhyantara Prayatna is. What is happening inside the mouth during, or no, before Varnotpatti. And Bahya Prayatnas, Varnotpatti is basically the production of sound. What is happening before the production of sound. So we can keep our tongue, the jihva madhya, the center of our tongue, we can keep it touching the talavya without having any sound being produced, right? So in order for that sound to be produced, we have to keep this jihva madhya, the center of this mouth, we have to touch it to this talavya, and this has to happen before we produce sound in order for this varna to come out. Right, so that is what Abhyantara Prayatna is. So it is the work that is being done before the sound is being produced. Bahya Prayatna, on the other hand, is the work that is being done when the sound is produced. So here are the Bahya Prayatnas. Kalaha. Kalaha is basically time as we know it. And here it means the time that we put into producing these varnas. So there's Hrasva, Dirgha and Pluta. So 3 durations of sound. Hrasva is A. And then Dirgha is A. Pluta is A. It's 3 matra kalas. So Hrasva is 1 matra kala, Dirgha is 2 matra kalas, and Pluta is 3 matra kalas. Right. We see Pluta aksharas only in Veda. We don't see it in Laukika Vangmaya. Hrasva, Dirgha, Pluta. So these are the 3 kalas that we have varnas in. And then Vivara, Samvaro. Vivara and Samvara are here. This is one of the beauties of the phonetics that has been written by Panini Maharshi, because it is impossible to learn in such an old age, in such an ancient time, about the moving of the vocal cords that we have. Because we can't see our vocal cords, how will we be able to tell what is happening when we're producing the sound? Panini Maharshi has done such sadhana that he has been able to figure out this Vivara and this Samvara. Not just Panini Maharshi, but many Maharshis before us, Rishis before us have put in the sadhana, the effort, Shabdopasana, to learn how exactly our vocal cords are moving inside our throat when we're producing this sound. So Vivara and Samvara. Vivara means Avayava Vyakocha. That means our vocal cords are moving away from each other. Samvara means our vocal cords are moving towards each other. So some varnas are said to be Vivara, some varnas are said to be Samvara. So that is a topic for a later time. If we want, we can do another session on this. But Vivara and Samvara, those are 2 other types of Bahya Prayatnas. Swasa Nada. This is very important for Bhagavad Gita kids. So Swasa is voiced and Swasa is voiceless and Nada is voiced. So Swasa is basically varnas that you can pronounce with just your breath, without the voice. And Nada is varnas that you need the voice to pronounce. So when we have, I'm going to go back. So we have our Matrika Patha, right? So we have Ka, Kha, Ga, Gha, Cha, Cha, Ja, Ja. 1 minute. Let me go back. Yeah. Can you? Okay, no. Yeah. So we have Ka, we have this line of letters, right? So can everyone read Devanagari here? Yes, no, kind of. So this is Ka. Ka, Cha, Ta, Ta, Pa, right? Ka, Cha, Ta, Ta, Pa. So when we say this, try to say it without this voice. Ka, Cha, Ta, Ta, Pa, right? So we can still pronounce it and it's still audible without us using this voice. But when we try to say Gha, Jha, Dha, Dha, Bha, when we try to say it without this voice, it will sound like Ka, Cha, Ta, Ta, Pa. Try to do that. So it's Ka, Cha, Ta, Ta, Pa. You cannot say it without your voice. That is the beauty of this phonetics. So Ga, Ja, Da, Da, Ba. So you can say these. You cannot say these without using your voice. But these varnas, Ka, Cha, Ta, Ta, Pa, Ka, Cha, Ta, Ka, Cha, Ta, Ta, Pa. You can say them without using your voice and they will still be audible. You will still be able to understand them. But these gajadadabas, you will not be able to say them without your voice. That is why this first Vargiya Prathamaksharas, Vargiya Dvitiyaksharas. So Kachatatapa, Kachatatapa are called Swasa Nupradanas. So these use Swasa in order to make the sound. The Swasa is the voicelessness. So it does not need voice in order to produce sound. It just needs the Vayu, the air, to produce the sound. And then Gajadadaba, Vargiya Tritiya and Chaturtha Aksharas, Vargiya Tritiya Chaturtha Varnas are Nada Nupradanas. So these need Nada, these need voiced in order to be produced. So these are called voiced letters, voiced Varnas, and these are called voiceless Varnas. So that is Swasa and Nada. And then there's Ghoshata and Aghoshata. Ghoshata, Aghoshata, we do not need to touch on today. We can do that on a later day. Alpa Pranata and Mahapranata. So Alpa Prana is Vargiya Dvitiya Aksharas and Vargiya Chaturtha Aksharas. So I'll go back to Matrika Patha. Here. So these are Mahapranas, right? Kha, Cha, Tha, Tha, Pa. So we use this air that is in our nabhi, in our udaram. And then we use it to pronounce these aksharas, right? If we don't use that, it will be an alpa prana. It will be kachatatapa, right? It's easy to pronounce. You don't need this much effort from your urobhaga or your nabhi pradesha. So kachatatapa is different from kachatatapa, right? So these varnas need this mahapranata. So it needs mahaprana, it needs more air. Prana means air, right? So mahaprana, it needs more air to be produced. Ga, ja, da, da, ba. These are alpa pranas, right? We don't need that much air. Alpa means less. So alpa pranas means less air it's needed to be produced. Gha, ja, da, da, ba. We need more air for that to be produced. So that is alpa prana and mahaprana. Okay. And then we have the three swaras. Sorry. Okay, yeah, three swaras. Mahaprana is aspirated and alpa prana is non-aspirated. These are just the English words. It might get more confusing with the English than without. And then swaraha trayaha. So even though we don't know it, we use these intonations in our language. So we have udatta, anudatta and swarita in our language usually, but we don't really notice it. So when we hear a person who is not a native speaker speaking our mother tongue, it will sound weird because they don't have the right intonations. So these intonations is basically what swaras are. In Vedas, it has been said, it has been told that these intonations have to be placed in certain places. And if those intonations are not placed there, it will not give out the right meaning. And it is very important for us to give the right meaning, as we have talked about in the beginning. So swaraha trayaha. So there's three types of swaras: udatta, anudatta and swarita. So even in Paniniya Shiksha, Paniniya Sutras, everywhere, even in Laukika Vangmaya, you will have swaras, but you just won't notice that you're using it. So even when we're speaking, we don't speak in a monotone voice. If we did that, it would be very weird and everyone would sound very dull and serious. But that is why we speak with so many intonations, in order to emphasize different places, in order to produce different meanings in our sentences, right? So that's basically what this swara is, this concept of swara is. It's intonations, different intonations that we use in our language. And it's one of the prayatnas. So this intonations is done with our vocal cords itself. So it is done during varnotpatti. It's done during when we're producing these varnas. So that is the different types of intonations. Udatta, anudatta and swarita. We don't really need to know about that, but it's interesting to know about it. So there's kala, which is hrasva, dirgha, pluta. So we only have hrasva and dirgha in Bhagavad Gita. Then vivara, samvara, which is the avayava vyakocham and avayava sankocham, which means the vocal cords moving away from each other, vocal cords moving towards each other. Swasa Nada. These are both important for us as we're learning Bhagavad Gita. And then so because Swasa is the voiceless varnas, so when you try to make one of your children pronounce, this kachatatapa or kachatatapa, try to make them say it without their voice first, and try to make them use this karana and this sthana with exactly the location that I have told you before. So if you do that, I think that they will be able to produce it in the right way. The Swasa and Nada. So, and then when you're trying to make them produce nada nupradanas, which are gajadadaba and gajadadaba. Try to make them produce the same ka with this voice and make it a little different in order for it to be a nada nupradana, which is gajadadaba, right? So kachatatapa, gajadadaba. Try to make them see the difference between all of these varnas. So same thing with alpaprana, mahaprana. So once you have the sthana and the karana placed correctly inside the mouth, it will be very easy to use these different prayatnas in order to get the right sound out of the children. So we have alpaprana, mahaprana. And then here is a few shlokas on how to pronounce these aksharas. So we're moving on from the sthana, karana and prayatna, which are the three main parts of Paniniya Shiksha. And then here is how to pronounce these aksharas. So this is a very famous shloka from Paniniya Shiksha shlokas. Vyagri yatha haret putran daunshtrabhyan nacha pidayet bhita patana bhedabhyam tadvat varnan prayojayet. So the same way a vyagri, a female lioness or a lioness, holds her children in her mouth, daunshtrabhyam, with her teeth, but does not hurt the child, the cub. Nacha pidayet. The lioness does not hurt its cub. Bhita patana bhedabhyam. And it's scared that the cub will fall out of its mouth, right? It cannot hold it too tight, or the cub will get cut. And it cannot hold it too loose. The cub will fall down. So it has to hold it in the right way in order for the cub to be safe. So tadvat varnan prayojet. So the same way these varnas should also be said to be produced with delicacy, and it should be produced very carefully. It shouldn't be produced too harshly, or else it will hurt the other person in front of you, or it will hurt yourself. And it should not be produced too lightly, or no one will be able to hear you, and you won't be able to hear yourself either. So the same way, you won't be able to bring out what you want to say to the audience, or the person that you're talking to. And then, so that is how you're supposed to pronounce aksharas. So please do not be harsh with your aksharas. I see so many people say Bhagavad Gita very harshly, and it's painful to hear. Damshtrabhyam chapidiyat bhita patana bhedabhyam tadvat varnan prayojet. So be very delicate when you're pronouncing these varnas, but not too delicate. And then next one, Giti Shigri Shirah Kampi Tatha Likhita Pathakaha Anarthagnaha Alpakanthascha Shadete Pathakadhamaha. So these are the 6 types of qualities of the worst kind of student. And this is mainly for Vedas, but it can also be used for any other Vangmaya. So Giti is someone who is singing in a sing-song type of way. So do not say a shloka in a sing-song type of way. A shloka should be said as a shloka. If you're singing the shloka, that is a different case. But it should not be said in a sing-song kind of way. It's not playful, right? It is a serious topic that we're talking about here. So Giti, it should not be sung. Shigri, it should not be done too fast. You shouldn't rush through all the shlokas too fast. You should do it in a right pace. Not too slow, not too fast. Shirah Kampi. So you should not be shaking your head. You should not be fidgeting all the time when you're saying these shlokas, when you're doing Uchcharanam. So Shirah Kampi. Do not move your head here and there. Do not touch your nails, touch your clothes and everything. That's basically Shirah Kampi. Tatha Likhita Pathakaha. Likhita Pathaka is someone who writes down what they learn and reads from it. So that is what this whole Mahayajna class is about, right? It's about memorizing Gita, not using the book to know Gita, right? So that's basically where we have conquered this stage, right? We are all memorizers, and we do not need the book to learn, to know Gita. Anarthagnaha, and this is a very important part. You should always try to at least learn the meaning, a little part of the meaning of what you're saying. You shouldn't say anything without knowing what you're saying. It's basically like saying gibberish. So when a child says gibberish, we don't understand anything, the child will not understand anything. Same way, everyone, these words are being put into your mouth for a reason. These words are being produced by you for a reason. So we should all try to at least learn a little bit of the meaning of what we're saying here. Or else it's going to be a waste of our time. Anarthagnaha alpakanthascha. So we shouldn't say it with a low volume. It should be heard, it should be audible by the other person, but it shouldn't hurt the other person's ears. Anarthagnaha alpakanthascha shadete pathakadhamaha. So these are the 6 types of qualities of a bad student, of a person with bad ucharana, or a person with bad knowledge of phonetics. माधुर्यम अक्षर व्यक्ति पदच्छेदस्तु सुस्वरः धैर्यं लयसमर्थञ्च षडेते पाठका गुणाः. So these are the 6 qualities. This is the opposite. So these are the 6 qualities of the good gunas in a pathaka, in a person who is reading or a person who is saying. So madhuryam. So everyone, when they say a shloka, it should have a madhuratva to it. It should be sweet to hear. It shouldn't be harsh to hear. It shouldn't hurt the ears. Right? So madhuryam akshara vyakti. So akshara vyakti means this. The aksharas should be produced in the right way. So the vyakti means vyapana, or it should be produced in the right way. And then padachhedastu suswaraha. So they should cut the pada in the right way. They should separate the words in the right way. Suswaraha. It should be with swara, or the intonation should be in the right places. Dhairyam, lay samarthancha. So it should be said with confidence. You shouldn't have no confidence when you say it. You shouldn't have overconfidence also when you're saying these shlokas. Dhairyam, lay samarthancha. So you should know how you're saying it. You shouldn't rush too fast. You shouldn't go too slow. You should say it in the right speed and in the same speed the whole time. Laya samarthancha shadete pathaka gunaha. So these are the 6 types of qualities of a person who is saying shlokas or saying Veda mantras or anything. Shankitam, these are more of the things that we should not be doing when we're saying shlokas. Shankitam, bhitam, udgushtam. So we shouldn't do it doubtedly or half-heartedly. Bhitam, bhitim udgushtam. So we shouldn't do it with fear. Fear of what the other person is going to think, fear of what am I saying wrong, fear of if I'm going to have a prompt in between or hesitations. We shouldn't have that fear when we're saying these shlokas. Udgushtam, avyaktam, anunasikam. So we shouldn't put nasal aksharas in places where there is no nasika as a sthana. And then shouldn't be avyaktam. It should be audible. It shouldn't be inaudible by the other person. Kakaswaram. It shouldn't sound like a crow's voice. Kaka means crow in Sanskrit. So kakaswaram. It should not sound like a crow when you're saying it. Shirasigam. So this the voice should not go up to your head. So we have different types of voices, right? We have chest voice, head voice. So this voice should not go up to your head. It should not be your head voice. You shouldn't be speaking in such a tarasthai that we call in Sanskritam. We shouldn't be speaking in like 2 octaves above of what normal people speak in. Tatha sthana vivarjitam. So we shouldn't be using the wrong sthana to produce these aksharas. Upamshudashtam, tvaritam, nirastam, vilambitam, gadgaditam, pragitam. So basically we shouldn't go too fast. We shouldn't stop in between. We shouldn't hesitate. We shouldn't have prompts. So basically the goal of Mahayajna program is to get you through all of these difficulties and get you to the stage of the Pathaka Gunaha, get you to the stage where you have achieved all of those gunas that have been listed here. So Madhuryam, Akshara Vyakti, Padachhedaha, Suswaraha, Dhairyam, Laya Samartham. So basically that is the intention of this Mahayajna program, to get you to a stage where you can produce this sound correctly and also give you more interest into learning other things in our Samskriti, like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, or we are learning Bhagavad Gita, and other things, basically. So it's basically an introduction course for you, for the rest of your life. Nishpiritam grasta padaksharam. So nishpiritam, it shouldn't hurt you. What you're saying should not hurt you, and it should not hurt the other person in front of you. So when you're saying sha or ta, it shouldn't hurt your mouth too much when you're talking. It shouldn't hurt the person in front of them when they're hearing this noise that you're making. grasta padaksharancha vadenna deenan natu sanunasim. So you shouldn't say it in a sad voice. You shouldn't be crying when you say Bhagavad Gita shlokas. Please do not cry when you say Bhagavad Gita shlokas. And you shouldn't put anunasika swara where there is no anunasika. It shouldn't be ananunasika when there is anunasika. So yeah. And in places like Sakala and Shakala, this is why pronunciation is so important. Sakala means the whole world. Shakala means pieces. So when you use this Dantya Sakara to pronounce this Sakala, it means the whole world. But when you use this Talavya Shakara to pronounce this Shakala, it means pieces. So it's the opposite meaning. So we shouldn't do that. We should always try to produce it with the right sthana and the right karana. So same way with Shvajana, Svajana. Svajana means someone who, Svajana means my own people. Sva means myself, my own. And Jana means people, right? So Svajana means my own people. Shvajana means the dogs. Shva means dog and Jana means its people. So dog population is Shvajana. Svajana means my own population. So that is a difference there. So same way Vada and Vadha. Vada means to say. So if we're telling someone Vada, that means please say. Vadha means kill. So it's the opposite. So please do not, putting Mahapranas in places where there's Alpa Pranas, putting Talavya Varnas where there's Dantya Varnas, and so on, it will change the meaning completely. Same with Udatta Anudatta Swaritas, the swaras, the intonations, but that is a whole different concept for another day. With this, I will be concluding our talk on Shiksha. I hope you all have understood something out of this about Sthanas, Karanas and Prayatnas. And I hope it helps you in the future. And Dhanyavadaha. Bhumau skharita padanam bhumireva avalambanam tvai jata paradhanam tvameva sharanam shive.
Thank you, Olasya. So that was definitely lot of information. So we all are learning Bhagavad Gita or any other scriptures. So with this, I'm sure now we all understand how we have to pronounce, where the sound is coming from, and so much of knowledge that is given by all of our rishis. So again, we salute to our rishis who have given this knowledge to us. So and again, once again, thank you all for being patiently listening and trying to get this subject into. I know it is very heavy subject, but we felt it was very useful, informative for all of us to understand why the pronunciation is so important and how we have to pronounce it, the sound, the science behind all the sounds that is coming. So thank you once again. So wish you all the best for our learning for Sanskritam and other scriptures. And once again, I thank Austin Hindu Temple for providing us this opportunity to present this to the whole community. Thank you once again. Okay, thank you. We'll end with a Shanti mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you.
Recording stopped.